established rich coming right back at you. And today we got to talk about Floyd Money Mayweather and the report that his financial empire may not be as untouchable as we thought. And let me say this early so nobody runs with the wrong headline. Floyd Mayweather is not legally bankrupt as we know right now. But when you start hearing about tax liens, massive loans, foreclosures, lawsuits, asset sales, and alleged fraud, that is not nothing. This is Floyd Mayweather we talking about. The whole man who built his whole second identity around being smarter than everybody else with money. The same man who walked away from boxing undefeated, talked about ownership, talked about making 9 figures in one night, and made the name Money Mayweather a household name. So when the report started coming out saying he may be under financial pressure, that news hit different. Because we never thought Floyd would be the boxer that had to come back and fight for money. We thought Floyd was the one who escaped that curse.
They exposed the shit out of Floyd Mayweather. Maybe he's 50 or somebody who don't like Floyd, but they did a hit piece on Floyd Mayweather. Check this out. So it was a typical scene for anyone familiar with the luxurious life that Floyd Mayweather flaunts on social media. The 40-year-old boxing champion sitting in a cabin of a private jet counting out a heap of $100 bills, talking about the envy that gets directed at him. Since his retirement, he's fashioned himself as a business mogul who success keeps him in Bugatti cars, Richard Mille watches, Gucci clothing, and opulent mansions. I own $1 billion buildings. Everything is no longer paid for. They're exposing him if you don't know. Mayweather took out millions of dollars in mortgages on his homes last year. Meanwhile, in the last 18 months, 2 of Mayweather commercial properties have been foreclosed. And he's at risk of losing his Las Vegas business or building that houses his strip club, the Girl Collection, over $52,000 in back property taxes and penalties. Mayweather has been pursued by creditors over Air Mayweather, which is his plane, the Gulfstream jet that's been the symbol of his mega wealth. In December, FAA records showed that he had sold the plane, and he sold mansions in Beverly Hills and Miami to 2 of his real estate partners.
This is where the story gets complicated because it's real easy to sit back and say Floyd blew his money. And look, the spending has to be part of the conversation.
I got about 100 cars, but right here, we like to call this the Sweet 16. Lambo, Ferrari, Maybach, a Maybach, whatever you want to call it. The Maybach truck or Maybach truck, whatever you want to call it. I got options. I don't know what I want to take out tonight. Take this out. I'm gonna head to Girl Collection. I'll see you guys at my strip club.
You can't build your whole brand around jets, jewelry, cars, mansions, watches, and a lifestyle that looks like a casino walking on 2 legs, and then act shocked when people ask how much it costs to maintain all that. But I don't want to be lazy with the story. Sometimes it's not all about spending. Sometimes it's trust. Sometimes it's the people around you. Sometimes it's business deals you don't fully understand because somebody you trusted told you it was safe. Sometimes it's the dangerous combination of big money, big ego, big lifestyle, and people close enough to your accounts to do real damage. And that's the part that should humble all of us. Anybody can be defrauded. A great athlete can be defrauded. A great businessman can be defrauded. A smart person can be defrauded if they put the wrong person in the right position. Because fraud don't always come like a stranger in a dark alley. A lot of times it comes from somebody smiling in your face, sitting at your table, learning your weaknesses, and figuring out how to make themselves look necessary. That's why I'm not going to pretend this was simple. If Floyd was really defrauded the way his lawsuit claims, then that is betrayal on a different level.
Yo, this is the man that scammed Mayweather. Yeah, Floyd Mayweather. I have $175 million. So Mayweather made him manager of boxing investments, banking, real estate. Even though in 2016, he pleaded guilty when he had to do 10 months in order to pay back $10 million. We had a hedge fund that lost $19 million. They lost MRP Union. Mayweather in the lawsuit said he hid his criminal past, including that $17 million judgment against him. All right, let's get into details how he scammed Mayweather. He wired himself $7.5 million, one of Mayweather's companies, to a Florida LLC owned by his pal. A year later, he brought $100 million of Mayweather's jewelry to a pair of Miami dealers, using it as collateral for a $13 million loan. So pretty much a loan on all his jewelry. And he never paid. And the jewelries were hitting Mayweather like you're going to start liquidating your jewelry to get, their money back. Also, another 15 to his friend in Florida, and he sold his private jet and never gave Mayweather the money. They don't even know who he sold it to. Ain't no way all that happened and nobody in your team was alerted, or you didn't see any red flags or a background check. And he did 10 months for a $10 million scheme. Now on call for this, these hedge fund scammers do not get enough time. So there's the breakdown from the New York Post.
You can make all the money in the world, but if the wrong people have access to it, they can drain your empire while you still look rich to everybody watching from the outside. That's the danger of living so large that people assume you can't be bleeding behind the curtain. Because when you Floyd Mayweather, people don't look for the damage. They look at the diamonds, the jets, the cars. But sometimes all that shine is a distraction. Sometimes the man with the most flash has the most pressure because he can't let the world see the cracks. And that's what makes this story sad to me. Because Floyd did everything he was told fighters needed to do. He became his own boss. He left the promoters behind. He turned pay-per-view into his own personal ATM machine. He retired undefeated. He told the world he was different than all the other boxers that came before him. And now the reports have people asking if he might be walking down the same road he looked too smart to ever go down. Now, Floyd was saying he good. None of us have seen that man's balance sheet. But here's what I do know. When you got tax liens being reported, lawsuits stacking up, assets being sold, and exhibition fights keep popping up around the world, people are going to ask questions. That's only fair. Floyd created the Money Mayweather image. He made money part of the brand. He made financial dominance part of his legacy. So if the money starts looking shaky, people are going to talk about it. That is the price of making wealth your main character. When you call yourself money, people are going to audit your name. Floyd didn't just say he was rich. He said he was financially smarter than everybody else in the game. He said he was the one who left the sport with his faculties, his record, and his money. He presented himself like the boxing exception. The man who didn't get used up. The man who didn't get robbed by promoters. The man who didn't have to fight until he couldn't walk. The man who would never end up like the old champions who had to come back and fight because they was out of money. And that's why all this exhibition talk feels different now. Because when Floyd first started doing exhibitions, it felt like easy money. It felt like a genius hustle. Get in shape, dance around, make millions, don't take real damage, go home richer than before. But when the financial reports started piling up, those exhibitions started looking less like extra money and more like necessary money. That's the shift. And that shift is what makes people uncomfortable. Because nobody wants to see Floyd Mayweather become another great fighter who has to keep going back in the ring because his lifestyle won't let him rest. We saw Mike Tyson have financial trouble after making large amounts of money. We saw Larry Holmes keep fighting into a deep age. We saw Muhammad Ali fight past the point where people who loved him didn't want to see him take any more punishment. Boxing has a long history of great men who have gave the sport everything, then had to come back to the sport because of money, taxes, or life just caught up with them. Floyd was supposed to be the one who beat that story. That's why this feels like a warning, not just about Floyd, about money, image, trust, and the difference between making a fortune and keeping a fortune. Because making money is one skill. Keeping money is a whole nother skill. And protecting money from the people around you might be the hardest skill of all. This is why I think we have to talk about judgment. Floyd Mayweather's boxing judgment was almost perfect. He knew when to punch, when to hold, when to move. He knew when to make another man miss and make him pay for his mistake. But outside the ring, it looks like some of that same discipline may not have been applied to the people around him. And that ain't me calling him dumb. Floyd is by no means dumb. But being smart in one arena does not automatically make you protected in another. A man can understand boxing and still get played in finance. A man can make 9 figures and still be vulnerable if he trusts the wrong advisor and gives him too much access. That's the lesson. And I think a lot of people need to understand that because we love to clown rich people when things go bad. But the truth is, if it happened to Floyd Mayweather, it can happen to anybody. The difference is, most of us don't have the private jet, a jewelry collection, a strip club property, mansions, and international exhibition deals attached to them. Floyd's problems are bigger just because of Floyd's lifestyle. The same principles still apply. If you spend too fast, trust too easy, borrow too heavy, and don't watch the people moving around your money, the numbers can turn on you. And once the numbers turn, the image becomes too expensive to maintain. That's what makes this Money Mayweather brand dangerous now. Because when your nickname is money, people expect you to always have money. That pressure can make a man keep spending just to prove he ain't hurting. And I don't care how much money somebody made. That type of pressure can break somebody. Now, can Floyd get out of this? Absolutely. If anybody can generate money fast, it's Floyd Mayweather. If this reported 3-fight situation is real, Floyd could use that to clean up the debts, settle liens, restructure loans, and buy himself some breathing room. But the question is not just whether or not he can make more money. The question is whether or not he can change the system around the money. Because if the spending continues, if the same trust issues continue, if the same type of people stay close to him, then more money will only delay the next crisis. That's what a real fight is. The real fight is Floyd versus the machine he built around himself. That might be the toughest opponent he's ever faced because that opponent knows all his habits. Floyd Mayweather may still find his way out of this. He gonna fight again, make another fortune, settle some debts, win some lawsuits, and prove everybody wrong the way he did in the ring for years. But if these reports are even close to the truth, then this is already a humbling chapter for him, because Money Mayweather was supposed to be the fighter who never had to fight for money again. And now the world is watching to see if the man who never lost in the ring can still win the fight outside of it. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe. Established Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.